Fears are once again on the rise that Russia finally is making a renewed push towards Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, after U.S. defense officials said Russian forces have moved 5 kilometers closer to the capital in the last 24 hours. Satellite images show the large Russian military convoy, which was last seen northwest of the city, has largely dispersed and redeployed. Images show the armored units maneuvering through the towns close to the Hostomel airport. On your screen right now is a map of Kyiv showing the sites from which the Russian forces are trying to encircle that city. The bulk of the fighting on the outskirts of the capital occurring in the cities of Irpin and Bucha, from where thousands of civilians were evacuated in the last few days. The Ukrainian army, meanwhile, released a video showing a column of Russian tanks being stopped at the eastern entrance of Kyiv and being forced back. Soldiers at a nearby checkpoint confirmed that there had been a battle on Wednesday and that some Russian tanks had been destroyed. The Russian Ministry of Defense also released a video on Thursday showing its airborne units in Ukraine, but the residents of Kyiv are putting up brave resistance against the Russian assault.
No, we're not afraid. I know we are being defended. We are not afraid. I'm not afraid to die. I feel sorry for my children and my grandchildren. I'm not afraid of anything, you understand? I'm not afraid of anything. I'm afraid only for my children and grandchildren.
Kyiv's mayor, meanwhile, said half the population has fled, adding that the city had been transformed into a fortress. With us on the broadcast this minute is Sviatoslav Yurash, Ukraine's youngest MP. Thanks very much for being here with us. Let me begin by asking you to tell us more about the situation in Ukraine's capital right now. What is it like living in Kyiv?
So the reality is that as far as Kyiv is concerned, Kyiv has been cleared out of all the incursions we had by the Russians, and the situation in Kyiv itself is stabilized. We have control of the situation in Kyiv. When you look at the situation with, for example, the outskirts, the supply routes to Kyiv, to the west, for example, there are battles happening with them all the time. And Russians are trying to pour in through Chernobyl to try and cut the Western supply lines to Kyiv. We are letting that happen, and there's sporadic fighting happening all the time. So the point here is that as far as the battle for Kyiv, it's going well.
Let's discuss the global response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Recently, Poland offered fighter jets to Ukraine through the United States, but America rejected Poland's offer. What did you make of Washington's decision and the response of the West?
In reality, we need no-fly zone over Ukraine. The Russians don't have truly that air force which is winning everywhere. It is not, by no means. We are shooting them down every single day, but it has a numerical advantage, which is quite problematic for our ability to plan out and organize. They, with their air power, can reach out to any part of Ukraine and try and hit it with everything they can muster. The point for us is that essentially that no-fly zone is necessary to try and take away the ability for the Russians to attack residential buildings, to attack all the parts of my country and terrify every single part of my country. As far as the details of the MiG affair is concerned, it's shameful the fact that when seeing this horror enveloping in Ukraine, it is still difficult for the West to muster even that kind of support. Because again, as far as no-fly zone, we can understand problems with their planning against the Russians, but we also are happy to say that we can do it ourselves. So if you give us the means, we can try and fight the Russians in the sky properly. So that's why we ask for those MiGs. That's why we are welcoming those MiGs. But I think as far as Poland is concerned, there is a resolution to this issue anyway. So the point is we need the means to fight if the West is not willing to join us in this fight.
You share a personal connection with India. You studied at the University of Calcutta. How do you assess India's response to the war in Ukraine?
So as far as India is concerned, India has various treaties with Russia and various points of historical connection with Russia. And first, it's important that these connections that Russia is trying to use right now were not with Russia. They were the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was not just Russia. It was also Ukraine and also so many other states. And those connections need to be built up on by all these successor states. But it's more to understand what Russia is these days. Russia is not just a country in the world trying to build its policies. It's a violator of every single rule of that world around us. It is time and time again trying to push and pull at the international global world order and destroy it, working with your adversaries time and time again. The point here is that for India to see this, what's happening in Ukraine right now and all over the world with Russian policies, and to pretend it's not happening and to maintain that treaty of friendship with Russia is, for me, a blindness. The reality is Russia is trying to use India as a card in its deck when it's debating with Washington, saying that, well, listen, we have these countries which will determine the fate of our century on our side. India, of course, is more nuanced than that. And I very much thank your president for calling our president when all this started. But again, Russia is using the point about India. It often debates in these UN forums saying, well, listen, the majority of world's population did not support you in this resolution because India didn't vote against Russia or didn't vote in a way that should be because not just the kinship for Ukrainians, but again, it's the question of international order as it is right now, in which war shouldn't happen, in which invasion shouldn't happen, annexation shouldn't happen. That is something Russia wants to destroy and wants to rekindle flames of conquests, imperialism, and again, India knows too well the cost of that flame of imperialism butchering through your nation.
Right. Sviatoslav Riorash, appreciate very much your joining us here on WION World is One and sharing those perspectives. Stay safe. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.